Examining triangle congruence in terms of rigid motion. For the triangles below, use the tools to move the solid triangle exactly onto the dash one. Then answer the parts below. So on Alex, there's a bunch of buttons. You can flip or turn or rotate or twist or slide this triangle however you want to get it to land onto the dotted figure. Now, I don't have that luxury on paper, so I'm going to go ahead and use a piece of tracing paper, and I'm just going to go ahead and trace my triangle, and we'll do some rigid motions with my tracing paper. Okay, so this is K, L, J, and I want those exact points to land somewhere over here. So what I see when I see this triangle and this one is that this point L, the pointiest one, looks like it ends up down. So I'm going to do some kind of rotation here. Oh, that looks like it could be close, okay? And I'm going to also slide it over. So let me back up for a second. So I'm going to rotate it. Let's say I'm going to rotate it around the point L, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and rotate it till it looks like it's about the same angle as that one. That looks good to me. I'll stop right there, okay? And now I'm going to translate it or slide it to the right and down to see if it fits. Now I'm not quite there yet. It doesn't quite fit. What I see when I slide it off is that maybe I need to do a reflection. So on my computer I would click the reflecting button. In this case I'm just going to flip over my tracing paper and see that I'm much closer now. So I'm going to go ahead and just slide it right up there until it fits. So we can see it does fit through rigid motions. They are congruent. So when I slid it, this point was L, this point was K, and this point was J. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and write those same points on my paper. So this bottom point, I took L and twisted it all the way down here. So this was like our L point. Okay? This point up here was like our K point, so I'm going to label that. And this point up here ended up being like our J point. Okay? So you don't have to do this much work at the beginning because you're on the computer, but just to give you some sort of idea of what you'll be looking at. All right? Now let's answer the questions. Letter A says complete the following congruent statements below. So it's saying angle J is congruent to, and I want to know which angle it's congruent to. So J we saw lined up with angle E. So I would choose in the drop-down menu angle E. Angle K is congruent to angle G because that's which one it landed right on. So angle G would be the choice on that one. And angle L is congruent to angle F because they landed right on top of each other. Okay? So once you've actually done this shift up here, these transformations, it's easy to pick those out. Okay? So let's do B. Complete the congruent statements below. Line JK, so this short line right here, JK is congruent to EJ. So I would go ahead and choose EJ. Now, I haven't tested this on Alex, so I'm not sure that the order is important, but if I were you, if they start with J and go to K, I want to start with E and go to G. Just write it in the same order, or choose the one that's in the same order. So then KL here is going to be congruent to GF because we see KL is right there. So GF. And last but not least, JL, which is right here, is going to be congruent to EF. All right, and last but not least, it says, are all three pairs of corresponding angles and all three pairs of corresponding sides congruent? So just like we found this little side is congruent to this little side and this little angle is congruent to this little angle, we did find that every side is congruent to its corresponding side and every angle is congruent to its corresponding angle because the two shapes lay perfectly on top of each other. So we know that yes, all of them were congruent. All the corresponding angles and sides were congruent. So it's not this one and it's not this one. But because each of them are congruent, does that mean our triangles are congruent or not? Well, we can see that they landed exactly on top of each other. So they are identical, so they are congruent. So I'm going to go ahead and pick this third option in this case. Okay? And that's it.